Hello, Medofupa. Welcome to my kitchen today. Today, my kids and I decided to cook some Ghanaian Palava sauce, and we had it with some boiled yams and boiled unripe plantains. It was so good. So pull up your chair, sit tight, and let's cook. So the ingredients for palava sauce is very simple. I will list everything in the description box so you can see. So traditionally we use cocoyam leaves to make palava sauce, right? But in the absence of that, we used baby spinach. Okay, so here's my 5-year-old trying his hands on cutting onions for the very first time. Hey, I was so scared, but we got it. So for the palava sauce, we needed the spinach, the agushi, the green seasoning, the plum tomatoes, some red oil, some anchovies instead of momone. It's such a good replacement. So if you've never tried anchovies in oil to replace what you would use kobe or momone, it is a good alternative. So I added the oil from the anchovies, and this palm oil was half and half of palm oil and some stew oil that I had from a leftover stew. And obviously you could also replace the palm oil with cooking oil, but palm oil brings in that earthy flavors to your palava sauce, and it's so good. So after frying the onions and anchovies in oil, we added in the green seasoning. Recipe is on the channel, please have a look. So this brings in the chilies, the garlic, the ginger, and then we added in After Village Kitchen 7-spice blend. That also brings in the earthy flavors from the calabash nutmeg, which is the diaba, the negro peppers, which is the wintia, and of course the cloves. Very, very flavorful spices for this particular dish. And then we added in the tomatoes. I'm using plum tomatoes here, but if you can get hold of fresh vine tomatoes, I recommend that. It really makes the dish very authentic, just like how we would make it at home. Using fresh vegetables is what we did back home, so it made our food taste good. So please try and use fresh where possible. So for the spinach, this is how I cut it into tiny, shall I say, pieces. No, traditionally we would roll up the spinach and then slice it, and it's so nice and lovely in our palava sauce. But cutting it up like this too was equally good. You would see in the end that you could barely tell the difference. So yeah, I have 2 boys and they play as we cook. So yeah, I caught that moment just to have some memories. One day when they grow up and they watch this video, they'll be like, look at us. So now we checked on our tomatoes, which had fried beautifully, and then we added in After Village Kitchen's 10-spice blend. It's an all-purpose blend which includes rosemary, black pepper, white pepper, ginger, garlic. So we are topping up on all the spices and all the seasoning, and we let that fry for about 5 more minutes. And whilst that was going on, we got onto our agushi. Thank God for this agushi from Royal Cedars. It is already ground. It is clean. It's just so good. It made making this palava sauce such a breeze. All we did was to put the agushi into a bowl. We added some salt. This is a tip here. When you add the salt, it helps the agushi to curdle up and give you that scrambled egg effect. And then we added water, just enough to help create a thick paste. We then added the agushi in dollops into the stew. So there are a number of tips here to help get that scrambled egg effect of the agushi. So 1, your oil at this stage should be quite a bit because we are frying the agushi. 2, you put the agushi in dollops and then allow it to steam, fry and steam at the same time without disturbing it. So you cover it and allow it to cook for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then you get back to it, and then you get that scrambled egg effect. All right. So whilst that was, happening, we got on to the yams. This puna yam is one of the best, it was one of the best yams I had bought in a good while. One of the best puna yams so far. I've repeated it a number of times. So this is how you traditionally peel the puna yam. Everybody has their own way of doing it, but this is how I was taught. So I was trying to teach my kids as well. So they were watching at this stage, and I also demonstrated how to peel a plantain to them. So in Ghana, we have 2 types of plantains that normally would use the type that's called apim. It's much slimmer than this one. This one is called the apim 2. That's the one that we use for the ripe plantain. Preferably, it gives a nice thick, it has nice thick flesh, so it's preferred for the ripe plantain. But for ampesi, we prefer to have the slimmer one, which is called the apim, but I didn't have that, and I had the apim too. And we scrape off the skin a bit to make it nice and silky. I will use that word, but it makes it really nice and smooth, and it is nice to eat after you boil it. So this is how we do it, and I just showed you everything unedited so that you know that it's okay. You need to learn how to do it to become perfect. So after doing that, we checked on our agushi. So this at this stage is called agushi stew. Okay, before we add in the spinach for it to become palava sauce, it is called agushi stew, and this is how you make agushi stew. You can stop here and have your agushi stew, or you can go a step further and add the spinach or the kontomire to have your palava sauce. So yes, at this point we stirred it really well to make sure all the agushi is cooked through. One important thing to notice, you need to also let your agushi cook really well, otherwise it does not taste good. So to season, I added some shrimp powder or crayfish. In this case it was more of crayfish, but they are the same really. And then I added in some home grilled mackerel. I've got a number of recipes on how to make your own home grilled mackerel. So easy. So I had this in my freezer and I added that in, adding extra protein to my dish. So this agushi or palava sauce can actually be made into a vegetarian dish when you omit maybe the anchovies and the mackerel. Okay, so yes, now it was time to add in the spinach, and because uncooked spinach is quite bulky, you have to add it in a bit at a time. So that was what I was doing. I added in a bit at a time, stirred it, checked the balance of the agushi to my spinach, and then added in a bit more spinach to get a good balance or a good ratio. And Medofopa, this is all there is to palava sauce. I wonder who named it palava sauce. Palava, if you check the meaning, is you understand. What's the palava about this sauce? Yes, I'm sure the Nigerians would ask this question because it's quite similar to their Egusi Soup. So I don't know who started it first, them or us. What's the palava about this sauce? All right, so once you add in all the spinach, you need to cover it and allow it to steam so that the spinach is cooked through. And also the agushi or egusi is also cooking well. So I went back to my yams and I cut them into equal slices as much as possible so that they all cook evenly. All right, so yeah, you can cut it in any shape that you like, but this is how I did it. And then I cooked the plantains in another pot, so that because they all have different cooking times, the plantains kind of cook a bit quicker than the yams. But so sometimes you can cook them both in one pot, but you start the yams off first, and then you add in the plantains. Or you can do it the same how I did it here, 2 separate pots, one for yams and one for the plantains. So after slicing, I washed everything nicely, added some water and boiled it, added the salt to taste, just enough salt to taste to both pots, and then we cooked this till it was nice and beautifully tender. And yeah, everything was ready. Now, let's have a look at this palava sauce. I'm sure you can smell it, okay? Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying this so far. And don't forget to click on that notification button, because hey, I'm bringing more videos your way, so you don't want to miss out, all right? And don't forget to share this video with someone who would find this very, very useful. So the palava sauce was almost cooked. We still had a few bits of green spinach in there, but it doesn't really take long. You just need to make sure everything is mixed nicely and everything is cooked well. Once it's cooked, you find the layer of oil coming to the top, and then you know the palava sauce is ready. So yes, like I said before, I boiled the yams with some water, seasoned it with some salt, and I added in some eggs, because as for us Ghanaians, we love our eggs with our ampesi. I don't know why, but yes, there's got to be eggs. Even if we put all the meat in in this world in our stew, we will need to add some eggs to make it, to give it the authentic look. So yeah, we bought some eggs to go with it, and this whole dish comes together within 30 minutes. Trust me, especially when you have the ground egusi, and the spinach is so easy to cut. So everything comes together within 30 minutes, and look how delicious this looked. I also added in some ripe plantain, and that's my favorite, ripe plantain with some palava sauce. Add some avocado on the side, and oh my goodness, you are back home. Yes. So watome onsakame, that's how we say it in Ghana. Come, let's eat. Until next time, see you soon.